I would like to invite now Rob to the stage, who is going to share his personal story with us, and that how he was able to overcome all this which he went through. So thank you, Rob. I would like to. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rob Rosalenko. First, I want to thank the Onondaga County Drug Task Force for putting this forum together, and thanks to everyone who's attended tonight, and thanks to everyone who has spoken already. So let me start by telling you a little bit about myself. I am a husband to my wife. I'm a son to my parents. I'm a brother to my siblings. And I am also a recovered heroin addict. Now, I say recovered because some 11 years ago I was taught that if you follow a program of recovery, you could recover from the disease of addiction. Not cured, just recovered. I certainly never intended to be a heroin addict, especially given my childhood. I was raised by two parents who loved me, and I had as normal a childhood as I could expect growing up in the 70s. I rode big wheels, I played flashlight tag, I collected fireflies in the summer. My first experience really with any drug was sneaking beer into my treehouse with my brothers in the backyard. While my drinking steadily increased throughout high school, I really wasn't seeing any serious side effects, and I certainly wasn't using any of what I would call hard drugs. I graduated high school, I moved to California, but I continued to drink in ever-increasing amounts, while at the same time getting a job at age 19 with Home Depot. When I was 20, I had my first physical consequence of my drinking. I had an attack of acute pancreatitis, which is usually the result of alcohol abuse. The doctors told me that while the attack was a result of drinking too much, I would be just fine if I cut back, if not fully abstained from alcohol. Being 20, I ignored that advice and kept drinking as my education and personal life continued to progress. I got married at 21. I graduated with a degree in marketing and moved into Home Depot's marketing department. At age 24, I had my second attack of acute pancreatitis. The same doctors told me the attack was surely a direct result of my continued drinking and that I would need to stop before my abuse had more dire results. So naturally, I kept drinking. 27, I had my third attack of pancreatitis. This was a far more serious attack, and I was in the ICU for over a month. My acute pancreatitis had developed into chronic pancreatitis. Again, the doctors told me the reasoning behind this was alcohol abuse. That was enough at the time to get me to quit drinking. But because of the pain that I was in from this episode, the doctors prescribed me many different types of opiate painkillers. I found heaven. While alcohol may have been just a boyhood crush, opiates were truly the love of my life. My wife couldn't compete with this new relationship, and so she did the smartest thing that she could. She divorced me. Just as I turned 30, I took a considerable promotion and moved to Dallas, Texas. I was newly single. I was at the time the youngest marketing manager in Home Depot, and I was feeling that my life was heading in the right direction. Over the next 5 years, however, I continued to abuse prescription opiates and eventually found myself at what I felt was a bottom. I checked myself into detox, and once all the chemicals were out of my body, I felt cured. Within a week or two, I was back to taking multiple opiate pain medications, and I began to purchase pills on the internet, having them shipped directly to me from around the world through various websites. As my tolerance for narcotics increased, I finally began to use heroin. First sniffing, because that wasn't as bad, and then eventually using intravenously. What continued to fuel my addiction was the fact that I kept working. I even went back to school to pursue and eventually obtain an MBA. I continued to use heroin and opiate pills for the next year. My sense of invincibility and the increasing financial cost of my addiction led me down another destructive path. I found a way to embezzle money from my company. What began as a few $100s here and there turned into $400,000. I found that my stealing and drug use could not keep escalating at this pace for much longer, but I simply did not know how to stop, and I was not even sure if I really wanted to. When I finally got caught in February of 2004, Home Depot knew about the last $30,000 that I had recently taken, but was just starting to realize the extent of my illegal actions. I confessed to everything, and then I ran off to rehab. I spent most of my first few days crying in self-pity and thinking of what prison was going to have in store for me. What I eventually learned, however, was that I was not an inherently evil person trying to be good. I was a sick man with the disease of addiction. While it wasn't my fault that I was an addict, it was my responsibility to face the repercussions for my actions, whatever they may be. When I got out of rehab, the next year was spent in meetings with lawyers, district attorneys, and the FBI. I was fortunate to get a 27-month sentence where I was looking first at 3 to 5 years. I was released from federal prison in October of 2006 and slowly began to reconstruct my life. I completed federal probation in 2009, returned to school to obtain a master's degree in social work from SUNY Binghamton, and became a certified alcohol and substance abuse counselor in 2011. My history as a convicted felon has made this path following prison more challenging, but also much more rewarding, knowing the difficulties that I've had to overcome. And I say this not for any sense of pity or annoyance with these challenges, but to demonstrate that a person in recovery can overcome these trials and create a life that will far exceed their expectations. I've not found it necessary to use heroin since February 27th of 2004, and let me tell you, life following heroin addiction is amazing, and it is obtainable for each and every person suffering from this horrific disease of addiction. Addiction could care less how you enter it: finance, circumstance, romance, ambulance. It doesn't care how you got here. It doesn't care how it gets you, who it gets with you, or what it gets you with. It doesn't care who you are. And from that perspective, you know what? It's actually a little bit more open-minded than the people who have it, or sometimes the people that don't even understand it. But I want to leave you with a simple message summed up in one word, and that word is hope. And I am here to tell you that there is hope. Hope for a life after addiction. Hope for laughter. Hope for family. Hope for joy. But hope needs to be tended. Hope needs to be watered. Hope needs to be nourished. If you have a family member or friend suffering from this disease, do everything that you can to foster that hope. And if you're the one suffering with an addiction, I don't just hope that you can recover. I know that you can recover. And you can have a life beyond your wildest dreams. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob, for sharing such a personal story and such a story of hope, which is the reason we wanted to do the forum at least and try to see that, yes, there is a lot of negativity, there is a lot of problem, but at the end of the day, persistence prevails, and that's what we are looking at. You went through so much difficulty in your life, from law enforcement, from every place else, to the prevention, for the treatment and recovery, and you are here to share the story. So hope is the most important part. If you remember anything out of this forum, please remember there is a hope and there is a support within the community. And I would like to invite Barry, to my co-chair, to start with some closing remarks. You all have been wonderful here.
I'd like to thank all of you for spending a few hours with us this evening to start the dialogue that really needs to continue. We hope that this forum has given you at least one piece of information that is useful, but more importantly, we want to give you hope. So let's continue the conversation beyond tonight, and I trust our paths will cross at many community forums on this issue over the months ahead. And I want to thank Dr. Gupta for her tireless effort to get this forum put together. Doctor?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Barry. You have been a wonderful co-chair with me, and I know I have so many of people who I want to thank. I just have some of those, like a closing thing, remarks, make sure that we are able to continue, because this is an event. This is a one-time event. It does not stop us. It means we need to make sure we keep the momentum. What I would ask to all of you who are here today, to continue to have that conversation in your dining rooms, in your family rooms, when you're talking to your families and friends, at your work, anywhere you can. I would ask all the colleagues, my task force members, as well as the community resource people, to make sure that you continue to communicate with each other. And that's what we actually can make things happen. I'm just waiting for a couple of things I think I wanted to make sure to show you some of the resources which we can. Okay, thank you. So how would we connect with the task force? That is something and also we talked about working to reduce stigma. Conversation as we talked about that here. But the more important thing is to remember you're not alone in this fight. Parents, children, and families, I think having a conversation with the family as to Rob's story, and when Dean you mentioned also, is having that support system there. It's so important for all of us. So having that conversation. Neighborhood, community coalition, that's what you want to do. Be an active person like Dina is trying to do, and being a very active person and trying to engage the whole community, and that's what we want more. Providers working to streamline resources, that's one of those very important part. One of those things I got so much engaged with this is, even though as a physician, I had a hard time finding information. So what I will call into our members of the task force who are for the resources to come up with some ways to make it a very streamlining information available for our county. Physician Coalition, that's what we are working, at least personally I can say. I work with my physician subcommittee, which is a part of the task force. And along with the many physicians, including pain management, surgeons, and different hospitals, we are trying to work together to reduce the opiate prescription abuse in our community, which is very important. This is doable. We should be able to do that. And some of those resources, everybody is very tech savvy nowadays. You can Google these things, and they will be available as a PowerPoint at our website as well. Oasis has a lot of information about, they have a hot tip line. There is a toolkits, different things. Please use it. Please use it. I cannot emphasize enough. This is a SAMHSA's website. You can actually find a lot of information. If you go to the treatment physician locator, you can look into, put the zip code. Things can actually come out, and then you will find it. National Institute of Drug Abuse, they have a lot of wonderful information about that. 211, which is local, there is a lot of information for our local resources. Again, that's something we'll continue to work with them to make sure that that's updated. We also have taken opportunity to put a heroin web page in our county website, in our health department. And I'm very thankful to our IT and web designers who have come up with a great resource which gives you sort of an overview there and put a bunch of resources. We also have a health department submit, it's called Combat Heroin Community Drug Task Force Feedback. If you are going to visit that, make sure you put your information. What we will do as a task force co-chairs will spread out to the whole task force membership, and they will be able to get back to you. We can come up with the frequently asked questions, which can be posted at our website, as well as to any of the task force members. That's something, it's a work in progress, so have some patience. This is something we started. It is a very important thing, and we'll continue to make it better. And with that, I think I would like to acknowledge some on behalf of Barry Weiss and I as co-chair of the task force. I would like to thank Dina and Rob and all our task force member, our panel experts, and also especially Monica Brown. He has been so much force for us to do that in terms of organizing this with us. All our health department staff, which has been worked relentlessly. I mean, I give them and they created the posters and all those, and also volunteers, so many of us, to an IT staff for the smooth operation of the making what we have a little bit of failures a few times, some of them as my doing it. So I would like to also thank Visual Technology for recording the session, and that will be posted our health department and DA's website, and it could be available to people. And please stay connected. That's what we would like to do. We will have a Narcan training after that. I don't know if you have to add anything else, Mary. So thank you so much for coming, and have a safe trip home. Monica. So you want to say?